Veronica said, I think I know exactly my niche, but I don't know how to find them, neither how to approach them. I don't know where are my hubs. Okay, Veronica, where are you zooming in from?
I'm calling from a small town in south of Catalonia, but actually most of my clients are based in the UK because that's where I used to live before.
Okay, great. And what do you do? What's your niche?
I'm a somatic treatment and breathwork therapist and also Thai massage therapist, and I specialize in chronic pain and anxiety. Perhaps this is what you kind of describe as the two islands that maybe the people who actually come to me, for them, the real pain is the actual physical pain. And my external knowledge is that additionally, they have also always anxiety and problems with trauma and so on. And perhaps that is a little bit too confusing to have both at the same time. But if you ask me like to describe my niche, I can talk about it like I can describe it very precisely and talk about it forever. Yet, if you tell me to translate this into, for example, groups in Facebook ads, it just doesn't work. I have no idea what to look for, where to put them, and then I get random people
Okay.
potentially in my list. Yeah.
So it's people in pain. That's your niche right now?
Yeah, so it's like women who are still over 40 years old, more often over around 60 or over, and they are in chronic pain. That means they've been dealing with at least one kind of pain very often, lots of various kinds of pain, or they generalized pain. They tend to be very specific kind of people, so they're kind of helpers. They never think about themselves. They always help others. They might have jobs that are also helping kinds, like in health service or in education or in NGOs, and they tend to, yeah, just have also a lot of anxiety, some sort of either childhood trauma or medical trauma, bad experience with the medical system. They tend to have tried many things before and they kind of fail. They're also leaning slightly towards alternative therapies, but not in a very kind of flashy or obvious way. So they like the science, but they are also willing to try other things as well. They're kind of open-minded.
Okay, so you're working online?
Yes, so I work online and I also do massages here in this little town, but it is a little bit difficult because there are experts, but they're not necessarily the kind of experts that fall into the category that would match my niche. And if they are, they maybe don't necessarily want to pay that much money for it. So what limits me in the local business is that as I'm in Spain, really only experts are willing to pay what I want to charge them because the prices here are just undervalued. Like they're not what they should.
Okay, which do you want to focus on?
I think I prefer to focus on online.
So for everybody, here's the thing with online. One of the big differences between online and local is local, the niche probably is going to be a bit broader. That's often the case. There's just not enough people, as you're noticing, who can, maybe afford it or interested in that kind of stuff. Online, we've got to go extremely narrow, almost impossibly narrow. I was just in Calgary and I saw a fellow Ed Paget, who's an osteopath, and he's come up with a course for scoliosis, right? I know an herbalist, and she's decided her niche is going to be Hashimoto's thyroiditis. My concern is right now, Veronica, that the physical pain is, I mean, it's specific in one way, but I just noticed as you were speaking is the thing that jumped out most was, okay, they're in helping professions, they're, in some sort of industry like that. That made me a little curious. But what we want is it's got to be the kind of thing that when people see it, they say, oh my God, that's me. And my concern also is there are so many people offering help with this issue, I would think, especially online. And so then
Mhm.
the need to hone who it's for a bit more. Like, is this, for example, is it for a particular community, a type of group? Is it for a very specific kind of pain that gets really focused on? Is it an approach that comes from a very specific philosophy? But I would just say, I think,
So it's in terms of point of view, it's really precise and what makes it different from other approaches. Yeah, I would
okay,
say.
okay, in a sentence or two, what is that?
Yeah, it doesn't really focus so much on that label of a particular diagnosis, because regardless of what that is the whole point. Regardless of what actual diagnosis of pain is, or what part of the body is, or what disease is, the source is kind of always the same. It's the nervous system regulation. So if you don't start from that, you're not gonna get kind of anywhere, and you have to do it with loving kindness, so as gentle as possible, basically.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just want to say on what you said is that, so for everyone, I would recommend checking out on YouTube, just search Tad Hargrave, The Two Sides, or The Two Sides Worksheet, because a lot of what you're describing, this is, you're laying out the difference there between the niche and the point of view, right? Most people don't, I don't think, just say I have pain. They have a very specific kind of pain. The way they're like, my back hurts, my hands always ache, I have headaches, I get chest pain, I get, I don't know, pain in my legs. We tend to, or my whole body hurts, but that's its own very specific kind of thing. So people relate to that's the symptom. That's the first side. That's the first column. But the second column is our point of view. And so in terms of, this is just kind of important in terms of hubs, because we're trying to figure out who these people are. Okay, so who are the people? And once we know who they are, where we can find them. And almost every modality has that same perspective. Well, that's the best part of this modality. It doesn't matter what the exact symptoms are. This can help anybody with anybody, because this gets to the root cause of the issue. So then people say, well, I'm not going to hone the niche. And I'm not saying you should hone on a type of pain. It's not necessarily that. But I would say that what you're sharing to me also doesn't niche it, because I think most like all yoga teachers would say that, like, oh, that's the best part. It doesn't matter what your symptoms are. Yoga will help everything. And that's the great thing about internal family systems. It doesn't matter how it's showing up. This is going to help. Like, every modality has, in the holistic world, it's kind of in the name, holistic, it looks at the underlying causes and roots and the whole thing. So I would just say, it's more
basically what you're saying is that chronic pain is not enough. It has to be a chronic pain of a specific thing, even though it's completely random choice.
No, not necessarily. I mean, it could be. It could be not just chronic pain, but like hand pain and all this. But it could also be chronic pain for musicians. It could be chronic pain for, I don't know, people in the nonprofit world, or chronic pain for the carer or something. So it may hone in on that. That could help, or it certainly would help. It could be a science-based approach to chronic pain that hones the niche. So I just think, number one, there's more work to do there in terms of honing it in such a way, especially online. This is the thing, where there's so many people offering something that would probably at least sound very similar, even if you're like, no, this isn't the same thing. Okay, but to the average person, that's going to look identical. So I think there's some more work to do honing that. And it's a worthy question to just say, okay, what's missing? What is not out there for the chronic pain thing? Are there communities that aren't being served? And then the second is, okay, then what are the hubs for these people? So now, if we roll with what you've got already, so it's people who maybe work in the kind of caring professions and the helpers, then you could think, okay, so where do I find them? What are particularly people who are in those industries who are open to holistic things? And if you can find a hub for both, like, oh yeah, there's all these helping people, and here's a kind of lightly holistic thing they go to, great. But then it's the question of just finding the hubs. But I think you would sort of know what some of these are already, in terms of there's certain nonprofits. Now, there are going to be certain conferences people go to in these nonprofits. There's going to be certain events they go to. There's going to be a media that they follow, podcasts they listen to, etc. So there's identifying the hubs as best as you can. And again, as you look at the hubs, it may help you hone the niche. Now, in terms of how to approach them, here's my big general advice to all of you in terms of approaching hubs. When you are approaching a hub with the potential of them promoting you, approach them as if they're on the verge of having a nervous breakdown. Yeah, because it's almost certainly true. Everybody's busy, and hubs are particularly busy because everybody leans on them. So approach them as if they're on the verge of having a nervous breakdown. This is the thing. I just imagine they're really overwhelmed. They're really busy. This is something Bradley is brilliant about with the Signature Workshop course that most people miss. It's easy to come up with a presentation, but how do you approach in a way that makes it really easy for people to promote you, to spread the word about you? So this means having pre-written stuff for them. There's all of that. And then there's 3 wins when we're approaching hubs. And we're going into a lot of this more in the hub marketing semester, but in the big picture, there's 3 wins that we got to look at. One, it's got to be a win for you. If you're going to approach a hub, you got to be able to get something out of it. Second, it's got to be a win for the hub. They have to get something out of it. And third, it's got to be a win for the hub's people if they're endorsing you. So then we just think about, okay, what? And this may differ from hub to hub. Generally, again, I would recommend a Signature Workshop as a way in, but it may be a little different with a hub. Sometimes it's like, oh, it won't be a presentation, they'll interview me. Or there's no presentation, but they have an event and I can go and mingle at it. Or they're going to have an event with booths, and all those booths are people who could be hubs and I can go meet them. Or I can have a booth at an event. And, so it's going to depend on what the thing is. But the other thing is, when we approach hubs, it's so important to do it with no entitlement. There's no, for sure, they're going to love it and we deserve it. It's just, hey, I've got this thing. I don't know if it's a fit. I thought I'd see. Anyways, let me pause there. Any further questions on this? Or
one thing that I'm considering is that, I've done this kind of signature workshop. And I've noticed that what really works for me is when somebody really comes to me and has an experience with me, even whether it's online or in person, and then they usually love that he stays and he recommends me further. But when I tried the signature workshop, and then it's maybe people are like, even in my newsletter, people read it, they get really engaged, they open it many times, and they like it, but then they don't buy it. It seems that there's this kind of magic barrier that they don't cross. Yeah.
Okay, so what you're saying, Veronica, is that if people have the experience of working with you, very often they book again. Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. So now for all of you, if you have that experience where it's like, shit, if I just talk to people, they're usually in. If I can do one session with them, they almost always come back. If that's true, then I would absolutely reduce the barrier of that first session, right? Then the whole thing becomes, how do you get people into the first session? So you could do something where you email your list and you say, look, normally I charge this much for a first session, but if you meet the following criteria, like here's what a good client is for me. And if you fit this criteria and you're really serious about healing, I'd love to offer an initial session for a fraction of the price. And for the first time, like with your email list, I might just try it and see and just say, look, I may never do this again. Because you might not. You might do it and realize, oh God, all the people who came in at that price were tire kickers and they're just not committed and that didn't work. But my guess is you may actually find that just by doing that and getting them in, boom. And then if you do a presentation, it's not, hey, book something at the full price. It's like, hey, I just find if people work with me, they tend to want to come back. So this works out for me. But of course, there's a risk financially and time-wise and emotionally. So here's what I'd like to do is if for your first session, it only costs this much. But here's the key. If you're going to reduce the risk, you want to raise the filters. Yeah, if you're going to reduce the risk, you raise the filters. So then it's like, yeah, the first session is free or the first session is only $10. And here's what I need to know about you to know if this is a fit or not. And don't book this unless the following things are true, that kind of thing. So we'll wrap it up there. But Veronica, thank you so much for your question.
Thank you. Thank you very much. That was very good advice.
Okay, I'm glad.